Welcome to the Three Body Narrative, and we are your hosts, Pradyum, Aaron, and Naeem. And I think the one thing that's the most important to all of us is reputation. The reputation is the single most important thing, our reputation. Do not ever forget that, guys. All right. And with that said, we're going to be delving into rating and reviewing one particular movie, and that movie is Mollywood Times. We thought we'd go regional this week. So, what is Mollywood Times all about? Well, it follows Vineet Madhavan, a young aspiring filmmaker who dreams of becoming a renowned horror director as he tries to find his place in the unpredictable world of the Malayalam film industry. No second guesses as to which, uh, I suppose, language this movie was in. And we will start with our ratings for this movie. So, Aaron, welcome back. We missed you for the
Yep.
previous two. And so, of course, you will now take charge, be our director for this particular episode.
Well, lucky me, I guess. I think I'll start with a little bit of what I thought about the movie before I give the rating. I think first thing I would say was that I really liked the story in terms of the movie as a whole. I liked it from start to end. The whole uh, narration of the story and how it progressed. I really liked that. I also liked some of the plot twists, though I mean maybe a lot of them you kind of hinted that there was something coming along those lines, but it was nice, and to some extent maybe they didn't mean it to be that way, but it kind of got you to kind of chuckle to yourself like, huh, yeah, fair enough. So I really like that in terms of the how the movie was in general. One thing which I won't say is a negative, but generally, at least from my experiences from South Indian movies, I find the standard of acting a little bit better in terms of this. I felt this wasn't really top top echelon or top draw in terms of the acting, but not a knock on the movie of any sorts. I still think it was a good movie, and so in terms of the rating, I think I would give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was contemplating between a three and three and a half. I'll give it a three and a half. I really liked a couple of aspects of this movie, and the first one being, the dark comedy that it had. I
Hmm.
liked the grounded nature as well. It showed that, I mean, it could have been very idealistic to show how, great the film industry is, how successful life could be, but I love how difficult it made, Vinny's life, right? And I think it was hilarious. I loved, and it kind of, I could relate to a lot of it because I used to do like growing up, we used to do like a lot of these homemade movies and stuff like that. So I used
Yeah,
to really enjoy. I really enjoyed that initial bit of him buying those video cameras, setting it, like doing all of that, finding issues, the lighting, and so on and so forth. I think I really loved that entire aspect. I I think I would agree in terms of the acting. I really loved the person who played Vineet. I think Naslin, especially, I think the movie kind of is, he carries the movie because of his performance. I love the,
yeah,
subtlety that he shows in terms of, he's being betrayed left, right, and center. Things are not going his way. And you can see like the inner struggle that he has, but also the sort of resilience in him, right? And the fact that he's
yeah,
never
yeah.
willing to give up and stands up for what he thinks is right. But yeah, I love the dark comedy, and I like, again, I think this is a not a sequel, but a second in a similar kind of trilogy of sorts. But the first movie also was on a similar dark comedy line, on dark comedy lines, and I really liked this aspect, and it drew me towards this movie. I think the only drawback I felt was, I think in the middle maybe it stretched on for longer than what I thought it should have, especially the final bit of, when Harris Bashir comes and he's trying to build this entire thing, the sister switching sides and all of that going about, I think took a little longer. But my God, I think some of there are like small moments that happen which I really started laughing out loud, whether it be the grandfather dying while watching the movie. You're like, damn, right? Or even Harris Bashir in the cinema. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. But yeah, just small subtle things which I think that's what makes, I feel like, Malayalam movies a lot more engrossing to watch, and like a lot better in a, I'm being controversial here, but a lot better than I guess some of the other regional cinemas,
Yeah.
even the mainstream cinema, right? I liked the
Yeah.
stories and the plots there. So overall, yeah, a 3.5, a really, really nice movie. Uh, and yeah, overall, I would definitely recommend people go watch. And it's on OTT, it's on streaming, so it's easy.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
I'll start off with something that's quite not so to do with the movie in itself, but it's so refreshing to kind of go into movies these days without having any idea whatsoever what the movie is about, not having watched any trailers, not
Yeah.
having any buzz or any sort of any marketing around it per se to know what the movie is, right? So, and once the movie is like started, it's all up to the movie to kind of deliver from there. And what I loved about this movie was in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, I was hooked. Like I was like, oh my god, like this is good cinema. I really like, it's so grounded in everything that you're seeing, but it's also got this very cinematic feel of the olden days where I kind of like miss not experiencing that anymore, because so much of it is fed to you through marketing that it kind of loses it by the time you actually arrive to watch the movie, right? So I'm happy I hadn't heard of this movie whatsoever before you kind of suggested it, and I'm also even more happier that I didn't take that opportunity to kind of go and Google what the movie is about or anything. I just went into this movie not knowing what it is about, except for the fact that I saw it on the streaming website. It's available. That's it. That's all I knew about this movie. And I think that really elevated the experience for me as a whole. I completely agree with Aaron's take in terms of the acting. I think a lot of the other movies that we've watched in terms of regional, I've seen the surrounding actors, like the supporting actors that you've got, deliver much better performances. But in terms of the main character, I have to agree with you. I think I really, really thought he brought his A game to this. I've not watched any of his other movies. I don't even know if this was his actual like first movie or he's
No,
a
he's done
superstar. I have no
plenty.
idea,
Yeah.
like no idea on the background of this person. But I really like. I saw this kid be an innocent in terms of having the dream of wanting to become someone in something that he dreams of becoming, and then eventually see how that dream or the lack of achieving that dream trans transformed him into this very mature individual, but with um, this nice balance of um, there is this hero aspect in him that you see, but you also see that he's drawn much closer to the ground in terms of you can't be that person all the time. You need to accept the realities. And what I love the most is by the end of it all, when it comes to that final speech, you do realize that while he's not really let go of his ethics and all of that stuff, he's come to kind of understand how the industry works and he's here to play the game. And I absolutely love that moment, right? And with that, I would say this is a strong 3.5 out of 5 for me. It could have been a 4, but I also think that the movie could have been much more crisper, especially during the mid part of the movie. But like, I mean, if you kind of were able to make this into a 2 hour 20 or a 2 hour
Yeah.
15-minute movie, I think it would have been really, really, really good, and would have pushed it to a 4 for sure for me. And I would definitely suggest that you kind of go and give this a watch, especially if you have access to the OTT that is having this wherever you are. It's a definite watch if you like dark satire comedy, but also in terms of wanting to watch something that is this thing, right? Like where you watch like the feel good movies. This movie is like, it starts off like that, where you're like, oh, every moment is like, okay, now he's gonna like achieve his dream. He's gonna go on that path. It's the reality of life that hits you. It's
Yeah.
like life is not that. You don't get that thing where it's like one day you get knocked out, or the second you get knocked off, and then you get back up and everything is like, whoa. No, it's like constantly getting knocked off multiple times perhaps, and then eventually going on to uh, adapting to play the Game of Thrones, so that you can survive in this world. And yeah, absolutely wonderful watch for me.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, I mean, we just hit upon a few points there. So, like talking about not watching the trailer, even I didn't. So, the only thing I knew from it was that it was about an aspiring filmmaker, right? And talking about this, like the first 5 minutes is actually not about Vineet, right? It's about Sachin
Yeah.
Vaikom David. And I'm like, oh, it's his story. I thought he's the aspiring horror. He's
It's
going to
misdirection.
it's misdirection because he's the one writing the horror story. He was interested in his father's novels, all of that, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, the misdirection bit with the balloons is hilarious. But uh, so,
Yeah,
so the,
it's to
no,
that point, right? Like
yeah,
in the sense that the mystery builds from that. It's like,
correct.
oh, how is this gonna come
No,
full
but I thought
circle?
I thought the movie was there, and then suddenly it goes into that he's got the last copy of that book. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Okay, this is
Yeah, but you would think that that becomes the focus of the movie, right?
yeah,
And while that is a major plot point, it never really is the focus of the movie per se, which is brilliant for me. That was
yeah.
like fantastic to watch.
But yeah, but talking about misdirection, I love the fact that obviously M. Night Shyamalan is his main, I think, inspiration there. But I love the part where he sits down with Sunilata and right in that shop, and he's putting on the earphones. He's watching the movie, and then he's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's only my nature that I don't feel scared and pop." I'm like, "Shit." Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I've seen that guy in many movies. The video uh,
He
movie
looked like
Renting.
rental guy.
someone who had a familiar face, but I couldn't like.
So I've seen him in many movies, and he always every time I look at him, I'm like, this reminds me of Shoaib. I don't know. It's just the way he
Is it
talks.
the hairstyle?
It's just the hairstyle, the kind of innocent look that he
But it's
has. But
also the ill-timed kind of comedic thing where he says
Mm.
one thing means another, and like also the, like for instance, like when you catch him in the, when he's trying to kind of, he has some sort of ploy and you catch him midway, like how when the balloon popped when he was saying he doesn't get scared, that's like so Shoaib. Like it was like that moment where you asked him whether he was googling the answers, and the wry smile and he doesn't know what to say. It's so Shoaib.
yeah, it's something with his mannerism, right? Whether it be
Yeah.
that the fact that obviously he enlists Vineet's the film in the competition, right? And
Yeah.
so that was hilarious. I really like those aspects. Of course, the grandfather dying for me was the like one of the biggest highlights, and he
You're
didn't die.
talking
No, no, no,
about the
the
grandfather
coma.
dying.
He was
The
in a
grandfather
coma.
coming back to life was a whole other thing. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, and I loved this thing that it's like they've their life has revolved so much around horror that they actually kind of witness a sort of horror experience in personal life as well. And all of this, like, it's it's brilliant that it's comedy right from the start, but like you don't even realize towards the end of movie where the kind of comedy is actually dissipated. You don't really realize that, at least,
Hmm.
like, it's become quite serious. But I don't know what or how it is done so beautifully that I didn't realize that the smile had kind of gone away during some part of the movie, because I know I was smiling for sure for the most part, especially in the first half, right?
Yeah.
And somewhere I kind of it went away, and yet I didn't lose focus or feel like, oh, I need to pick up my phone and check if I have a notification or something. I was completely hooked, and I was loving to see this guy's journey in terms of his filmmaking career, where
What
it was going.
what I also liked was like the parents' support. I mean, obviously this guy is not great in his education, right? But I love the fact that the moment he creates that first home video, which or puts his grandfather in a coma, I suppose,
Hmm.
like his father's like, yeah, I'll pay for your film education. Like, go do whatever you need to do, and that was really nice and heartwarming, I suppose, in a way, right?
Yeah.
It was also a
It
fun
was a
moment, but
little
yeah.
too heartwarming for his grandfather, I suppose.
Yeah. But I also really liked, we were talking about being grounded, the friend, right? The friend, ever since day one, he's brilliant, but he always attributes the results to the fact that he is not, he's from some caste or something, right? Like reservation class and all of that, right? And that happens
Yeah.
all the way until the end when he gets the award and he's like,
Award.
I get this, but this is because they feel pity for me. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, he even says that he himself thinks it's mediocre at best, and yet uh, he gets that preference or whatever, right?
But that isn't that what we see in like regular film in the film industry where like we see a lot of movies, we see and we've rated a lot of movies which, get a lot of prominence, but it's mediocre. We think at least it's opinion, guys, but it's just mediocre
Yeah.
stuff, right? But there are a lot of ones that go
Like the indie films and stuff. They
indie.
don't get the necessary exposure that obviously the mainstream films get.
Yeah,
But more often than not, even with the fairly limited budget that they deal on, they kind of they do really well with whatever they have, kind of a thing. And like some of the movies, I think, like for instance, this year you guys would have heard of Obsession, right? I haven't watched it personally, but I've heard of how little budget they had and how much of a like where cinemas reached today in terms of like if it hits the right audience,
yeah.
then even if it's not got the initial coverage, it's got the legs later on to kind of reach the people it's supposed to reach. And I think that's true for a lot of films these days in terms of where digital cinemas, I mean, digital streaming services have kind of made it a little more accessible on that point, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because with cinema, you are limited to the whole this thing of there are only so many cinema houses. Everyone's vying for spots there. You
I mean,
only get
again,
limited.
talking about this movie, that's the same thing, right? At the end, it's word of
That's what
mouth.
happened.
An entire
Yeah,
one event creates an entire word of mouth thing, and it goes from
Yeah.
being a basic no show to or an
yeah.
empty theater to being one of the biggest
Sold out or whatever. Yeah.
blockbuster. So that was great. Of course, then we've got other characters like Arjun Haridas. Like it's hilarious how every time he was making a film, there's already a similar film being made.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
kept thinking, like, is it? So I'm sure this happens a lot probably in the industry where the scripts kind of get leaked here and there, or people at least for the most part get the crux of what's being written,
yeah.
and then it's the race against time, right? Where it's like who can put out the movie first, kind of a thing. I think that also sometimes forces some of the other movies to be boxed and maybe released much later, and whether or not you can connect with that piece of art at a later point is a whole other thing to begin with. But it's always a race of time. It's always about being credible enough to prove it's your own work as opposed to being someone else's work. And I kind of like, I understand where he is when he kind of makes that decision to hold off on releasing that movie, especially where also terrible luck, right? Like insane in terms of what happens to him, like you said, like multiple films being, but
But do
also
you?
the actor
Yeah,
wanting to do the reshoot and then the actor's just gone,
yeah.
which throws a spanner because until that point, everything is like even the guy Fayaz or whatever, the production, the producer, right? He's willing to put money behind it. He's willing to give him the time, 10 days or whatever to
Additional time.
reshoot.
Yeah.
But the moment the death happens, everything just changes.
So
And
do you guys think though it was the right decision to delete the entire film and not go proceed with it, Darren? Like, what's your take on
Uh, I mean, in terms of his reasoning, I guess you can kind of relate to it. Whether it is justified, I would say no, because again, I think, and that's one of the things that I think, was it the movie critic that mentioned, like there
yeah,
was
yeah.
so many people that kind of having are invested in it, and it's like their livelihoods that were also on the line. So in terms of that, you kind of feel like probably not the right thing to do. But you kind of also see that this guy didn't want to like have the movie get drowned out by just the sympathy of losing or the tragedy of the actor in it. So
I think
uh
there, to add to that, right? Just so, and sorry to cut you off, Aaron. Before I lose the train of thought, the only thing was I thought the conversation there could have helped that okay, we can still go ahead with this movie, but I don't want this to be the launch for my movie. Like I don't want it to be the first movie that I come out with. So let's park this aside. Let's release it like a couple years later. We'll still have that thing of it being the last movie of this guy, right? Like uh I
it?
granted,
but I think that was the problem, right? It was that Fayaz wanted it out then, because I mean, I'm sure if he had still said, okay, in 10 days you are not going to lose
oh
those
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
that were mourning him. So
Definitely.
I'm
And
pretty
like,
sure it was not about releasing it later. It was just that he wanted to cash in on that cash cow then and there. At least that's what it seemed like.
and by
Yeah.
the way, that particular scene kind of had me. There was this Bollywood instance that happened a few years ago, which was similar. I will not mention which one. I think most people would probably know, but it's like one of the more high-profile actors who'd done a couple of like massive projects, not a nepo baby, and things had not worked out for whatsoever reason. Um, but then, upon this person's passing, I felt like it was kind of used uh, to push the final movie that they were releasing post his demise, and that was kind of sad to see. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
how cutthroat or brutal the business is, I suppose. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like that's the first thing that my mind went to. Like, oh, I think I've experienced this in real life, kind of a thing. So it's crazy how real all of this really feels for someone who's even on the outside, not in the insides of the business, right? Like the film industry. So yeah, that was kind of a nice thing to see.
Hmm. I also really like, I mean, though a very despicable character in Haris Bashir, but I love the reasoning as to why he would tank the movie. It makes so much logical sense. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of, like, I know people who've done, like, obviously, producers put in a lot of money. They've, got other, finances to look at. And yeah, that completely made a lot of sense. But oh my God, like, the lack of any marketing, all of that, right? I think that
Did
that
you
kind of helps.
did you see the twist coming though? Like, did you know that? Oh, or did you think that? Oh, wait, maybe that's not right. And
So,
that's what I really liked.
no, I kind of knew he was uh, like it wouldn't work out, but I didn't know it was for this particular reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the reasoning was something that was probably something that caught you off guard, but you kind of felt like, given his conflict of interest per se, you kind of felt like there was going to be some sort of backstabbing or some sort of ill will in the end. So,
So
but I
at the
like the fact
point
that they had this.
where the wedding happens,
Mm.
and he becomes his the other guy becomes his brother-in-law, I was like, brother-in-law, right? That's
Yeah,
what he.
yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah,
I was like, oh shit, this guy's screwed, right? But when he vouches to kind of support him through that,
yeah.
usually at this point in time, like considering all of the betrayals and stuff you've seen over the years, you kind of get used to it. And I kind of see more often than not these twists coming. But I was caught off guard. I think I was so done with seeing this guy go through like these times where it just doesn't work out for him. I'm like, finally it's happening for him, right? But no, it doesn't. It's worse this time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And to
but
that point,
it kind of felt that way, right? Because it seemed like he took it so calmly that his wife just got, I mean, the sister just got married to like a competitor to tank his own project and stuff like that. We're like, you seem to be taking this way too well.
Yeah. And the most hilarious bit and the best bit is that Vineet himself, proposed that or
idea,
gave him the idea
the
that,
marketing thing, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
saying that, I
you
can
don't
tank
market it
this.
right.
Yeah, if you don't market it right, this could be the biggest flop, right? And
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
that's brilliant. I One more thing that I completely loved was obviously Sachin, the failed writer, right?
Hmm.
Sachin Vaikum David. I love that he goes every time and he's so depressed, he goes and tries to hang himself, and then he kind of has to be like, oh, wait.
But
Someone
that
comes.
was pretty. I know I found the last one so funny where he's like, I mean, you're going to hang yourself, but you're like, oh wait, let's answer the phone first. I'm like, okay.
He just needed a reason to come back.
Yeah.
He wasn't convinced. He's like, that's a lifeline. Getting a lifeline there. So let me
It's
try.
like
Uh,
phone a friend working the other way.
yeah.
Correct.
Um, by the way, you guys stuck around for the after credits or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was like out of nowhere for me. Like I was like not expecting it.
Hmm.
And then it did. Like I'd forgotten about initially I was like, where is Peter?
Yeah.
Especially when they kind of drive down to that place where they need to know who the owner of the this thing is.
The,
What is the
la-
name of
the
the thing? Publication?
Oh,
Matra
yeah. 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 Yeah.
M something it is.
Correct.
Anyway, going to that place to check who the owner is and stuff like that. I thought that's where Peter would come into play, but he doesn't. Throughout the movie, he's not there anywhere. After that initial bit that you see him, right until the end, and then it's like I love that thing where it's like these guys were kind of controlling what is happening to Vineet, but there's actually a greater power at play, which was kind of really screwing him over. Even worse, right? Like you don't even
Did,
realize
did you
what
go, did
level.
you go back and see that scene where he's there as the servant, Peter's there as the servant, and see whether you could
No,
actually notice him?
oh,
Because there's at
I
one
didn't.
point where obviously Vineet opens the door and says,
Yeah,
"I know who it is, Peter,"
yeah.
or whatever. Right? And then Vineet is actually, and then Peter's actually walking with a tray, and I think
And
that's
he
like,
had the eyes like that only.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was
But
like, bro, shit, that was crazy then. Yeah, I think that's brilliant, right? Like the fact that they're so confident that he's such a background that you don't. And I love the fact like it's right there, staring you in the face. You just have to kind of look, but because you're so engrossed with his discovery of, and I also like that by the way, yeah, how you consume content as a child versus how you consume it as an adult and how that might change your perception because he sees it as a kid and he reads it and he's like this is shit, but when he reads it as like a grown up he understands the intricacy of that source material in there, right? And how that can change his entire life. Also in that moment he kind of does what he does not like, I think, to the point where he does not even like to take inspiration or anyone else taking inspiration from other people's work in general. Like he prefers everything being very original. But I think life kind of really pushes him so hard that eventually he starts making those little, not at the level that most other people do in this specific
hmm.
line of business, but he starts making those. There are like chinks in his armor that start appearing as life kind of keeps rolling
Chipping
him over.
away at him, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. But I loved it. And I love the fact that Peter dies by just smoking a beanie in the middle of the room where a truck comes.
Also, the fact that he's the one who stole the script. That was insane. I was like, where the hell did the script go? Like, who's
Because
releasing this?
nobody else, like I'm sure Arjun and everybody would have been the first to gloat about it, or they would have made a movie on it. Like nobody else took responsibility for that script. So you're like, what? But so many things have happened since then. You're like, oh, okay. I mean, I was in the back of my head, like, okay, I don't know where the script is, but yeah, I think overall this was a good fun watch. I think anything else are we missing that you guys want to highlight in terms of
I
the
just wanted to say, like, I love the nostalgia feel in the movie. So, like, again, I think how you mentioned a camcorder, like thinking of how 3 megapixel was such a big thing back then. And I think anyone who has ever looked at Malayalam movies, I think there was that phase where like horror movies became such a thing. Like every second Malayalam movie was like a movie, and it had like those women who were ghosts in like a white sari all the time and stuff like that way. So it was like a real nod to how things were back then. So it really kind of got you to reminisce on stuff back then. So that was pretty cool. So I like that part of the movie.
Yeah. No, I love the fact that he's probably ahead of his time where he was trying to shoot like night scenes and all with like a 3 megapixel. And he's like, bro, you can't get anything. You go shoot it in the daylight, bro.
you, you I also like the part where there are some comments he makes as a director which can be construed as very like
Oh,
you shouldn't
yeah.
be saying kind of a thing. um but obviously he's looking at it from his he has this idea of what his art needs to be, and he's looking at it from that. He doesn't mean to offend anyone in any way, but that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
And also the fact that that is kind of then when it does not serve the purpose anymore, how that's kind of turned against him and said that this is one of the reasons why this movie is not working out or why I'm leaving this film and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of like, oh yeah, it's so important to kind of um convey your art in the way you see it, but also make sure you kind of balance that out without actually not offending people.
And especially
Um,
someone with the
or
ego as the sister, right? Someone with like the star
Yeah.
power, or like someone with a lot of power, whether it be the Malayalam film industry officials or the actors that he was working with, like telling someone not to breathe or like calling them fat, stuff like that. I was like, oh, okay, this is where we're going. So there are moments where obviously he's being a little unreasonable to an extent, but you also kind of think that that's from a perfectionist angle, right? Like
angle, yeah.
he wants to build, he wants to build this perfect kind of movie, and he's got this vision, which is great, and ambition is great, but yeah, slightly.
Yeah, it almost felt like the DTS was the IMAX of Nolan. Like it has to be like this kind of a feeling,
Yeah,
right? Like initially when the vibrations and all are happening and stuff like that in the cinema when he's viewing it, I'm like, oh, this guy wants to do some IMAX, some this thing or something like that. Like he
yeah.
wants to reach that kind of, and then it's like Dolby surround sound. Like, okay, that's the route he
and
goes kind of.
and especially he gets even that pirated movie from M. Night Shyamalan, right? Like he gets the disc, he's like, and he sets up his
Yeah,
house like a Dolby cinema where the movie theaters there, the
With the
seats.
surround sound kind of thing. Yeah.
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 He drags his grandfather from the wheelchair, puts him in the right place.
But okay, and before we kind of close out,
Yeah.
that final speech, which is like a definite come around to the first conversation he has with uh, David's son, Sachin,
Sachin. Yeah.
right? Where
Absolutely.
he tells him how the other guy swayed the public opinion, because
Hmm.
you hear the initial applause and you know that this guy, the other guy's only won it because of the connections or whatever he has, and that's the reason he's won the award. It's not the audience that feels that way, right? But the moment he comes onto the stage and suddenly he switches that thing of being the underdog, how he's kind of been trying to send comments this guy's way and he's not been responded to, and like how
So
he
that
looks
was
up to
not
him
with
and all that
Sachin, no?
stuff.
That was with the critic.
No, not the critic.
No, it
Sachin
was
has
with
the conversation with him in the
Sachin
washroom.
when they were sitting in the toilet.
Oh, correct. In the
Yeah.
washroom later. Yeah. Because
Yeah, and he
even
tells
yeah.
him that that's how he's changed the game. He's portrayed you to be the
Yes.
guy who's like
The arrogant
egotistic or
guy.
whatever
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, and that's kind of completely swayed public opinion, which happens to him like later on as well, right? Like everyone's kind of seeing him in a certain light, and that's why they don't really like any of his work, even if it's actually good. Which at the end of it, he learns how to play that game, and that speech is so damn brilliant because initially it feels like he's outing them all,
Yeah.
but that for me is brilliant with the last couple of lines where he's like, he's accepting the industry as it is, but he's kind of telling them that now I know how to play the game and I'm here to play it, kind of a thing. And that's like really nice to kind of see. Um, while also still holding on to who he is as a person. Like he's done his bit by outing them, but not in a way where it would have been like, dude, what the hell are you doing to me
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like not framing himself as a what is the this thing someone who's been
Victim.
done wrong against or whatever, like a victim. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
about victimizing himself, it's more about um just swaying public opinion to his this thing that, oh no, I am the underdog here, you guys think I was this thing, but no, it's not. That's not the case whatsoever. I'm against this power that is there in this industry, but I'm still gonna fight against that power. And
Yeah.
and that the applause at the end is brilliant, and I love that end to it.
And one thing is, I really like the music overall. It was fun. I mean, some of the songs were pretty cool as well, which was uh,
Yeah.
So I
fun.
forwarded through the one song where he's performing and stuff. Right initially,
Yeah.
but I can't really think of the other songs
So
to be
the
honest. Like
other one was obviously, I think, towards the end when they go see the movie with the parents and when Harris Bashir dies. I think that's a lot more melodramatic.
melodramatic.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a nice one. And at the end when he makes a speech, there's a rap, I guess, which ends the movie. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no,
But
I
Yeah.
kind of didn't. It didn't
but yeah,
stand out to me per se, like
it's
personally. So
yeah, it's not the
I think it was
standout.
more to capture the
essence of the
theme of
scene.
the scene.
Mm.
Yeah, it was not something where you'd be like, oh, if this song was playing on its own, you would be vibing to it or anything. But it just captured the feel of that particular scene, I guess.
Yeah, especially I like the melodramatic because this is his final battle and he's obviously lost it and he's feeling probably to the lowest. And I like that conversation that he has with Sachin in is that outside the house, like basically when Sachin comes and says like, "We'll see you in losers
Loser
paradise."
Paradise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is it's just sad because both of them have obviously gone through a lot, but yeah, I mean I don't feel so much sorry for Sachin than I do for Vineet.
Yeah, Sachin
Yeah.
was, it was more stupid in the sense that he had everything and he kind of like went to this thing in terms of, again, they're both chasing greatness but on different spectrums, I suppose.
They're
And
doing it different ways. Yeah.
yeah, different ways, kind of a thing.
And
And that,
Sachin didn't have the raw talent, and I just felt like he kept hitching his like ride on whoever was the
yeah, but
brightest
that's the thing.
star.
See, if you don't have the talent, it's still okay. Like I can still, if you're someone who's willing to work, put in the work, and
He
that still can be respectable.
yeah
But this guy just kept taking others' work. Even at the start, like the initial conversation he's having, and why he's giving them the 2 pennies of advice that he's giving him is because he wants something out of him. He sees the potential there, and he's trying to coax him into kind of doing the work for him, right?
yeah
And that's what tells you enough about this guy. I was hoping that maybe he had changed his ways along the way and kind of done away with the teachings of his father in this case, who, by the way, that ultimate reveal was brilliant in the beginning. How his the person who loved him left him that box and it had the scripts and he decided another scripts, the novel, this thing,
no
right? The
yeah
novel, ready novel. Yeah, to kind of print, and how he's made all the money from there and everything that just is a trickle on effect from all of that and stuff. I was just, that was the only thing. Again, like this is a personal thing where I was hoping for both these characters to be on a different, in the sense that this guy is on a more positive this thing. He still ends up extremely negative, much more negative than he was before, because by
yeah
the end of it he's kind of, even a little bit of anything that the good was there has kind of gone away altogether. Whereas with this guy it's like the good is still there but he's learned
yeah.
like what he needs to change, kind of a thing. So pretty cool that way.
Cool. All right. And with that, we conclude our review and rating for Mollywood Times. Obviously, we had a lot discussed. There's a lot of good things to, lot of small points that we had to discuss, and I'm glad it was pretty entertaining. Like all three of us would say, go check it out. It's on some streaming platform or the other, but definitely do give it a go. I think it will be worth your while. And we will catch you all with another review shortly. Until then, you stay safe and see you.